Well, so being a producer, me as producer, different than me as DJ.
Mm,
So me as DJ um, is going to be in the moment. It's
okay.
again because of my own musical interest and curiosity, what I can hear and what I can anticipate an audience, a crowd liking. Um, and then you take chances, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to create moments.
Right. I like
If
that.
everybody's playing the same 30 records, it's hard to sort of, we all now after a while people are proficient at blending and blah blah blah, but being able to create a moment, part of it is throwing a record that maybe from, oh yeah, I remember that record. Oh, I don't know that record. Oh, what? Like it's
Right.
and being daring.
What's up, DCMTV? Thank you for tuning in. I apologize for the delay. It has been a while. We have been working really hard on copious amounts of work. The summer has been positively busy. Tons of events and gigs, rehearsals. So harder to find the time to put this together, but I am happy that we have finally been able to make this happen. I did want to note for our special guest that we started this interview in March, so it was at the tail end of the pandemic, and there might be a few things in that interview that talks about maybe something to do with the pandemic, but it wasn't much at all. There's a lot of great information that has to do with our music industry today, now, transition, and what to look forward to moving on. I also just want to let you know that I am going to make some videos in the near future regarding the release that I did on vinyl for this project, the Cosmic Visionaries, and another project that was made during the pandemic times was this CD that will be coming out soon, and I will make a video talking about this release as well. It has been very productive time, and I'm happy to say now that it's very busy. But moving forward now, we have an incredible guest. It is Ian Friday, and I am so happy and honored to have him on this show. Huge fan of Ian, and now we get to share some time with him and gain some great knowledge. He had a lot of great things to say. So let's go. DCMTV. DCMTV, my guest today is Ian Friday, creator of Libation events, Tea Party, global soul music, and an active touring DJ around the world. Ian Friday, pleasure to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm good. What's up, Miles?
Great, chilling, man. I'm glad we can actually do this. This is super exciting for me too. So you're currently based in New York, yeah?
I am this moment in the Caribbean, actually. I'm in Grenada, West Indies.
Oh,
Right
cool.
this moment. I am generally based in New York City, Brooklyn to be exact.
Okay.
But since the pandemic hit, my dad and my sister are here, and
Okay.
I've been here with them.
I see. So
And
what is the plan, to stay there for a while or to go back to New York at some point, or just feeling it out?
the plan is to go back to New York because my home is there, my life is there.
Yeah.
We entered into a pocket dimension with this pandemic, and my
Yeah.
dad is elderly, and so
Mhm.
I take this time as both a blessing and a challenge, just to be able to spend the time with him. He's
Right.
now 97, so just
Wow.
really being able to help.
Yeah.
You know,
Spend some quality time.
there you go.
Um, so have you heard anything about how New York is doing the arts culture scene at this point in time? Have you talked to any people who might have?
Sure,
Okay.
sure,
And
sure, sure, sure.
what's the general consensus right now? Is it still kind of like slowly putting itself back together, or?
I think that things are picking up with regards to activities and people able to, now that the mask mandate is gone and the vaccine mandate is not what it was.
Right.
I think events are happening. I have been back to New York twice, in fact,
Okay.
during this time. Most recently, I went to go play in Costa Rica,
Oh,
and I went
nice.
to New York, and things were, different, but
Mhm.
opening up, and that was early in the year. Now, I see tons of events. I've been asked to play a variety of events as well,
Cool.
coming into the spring. So things are opening up, and that's. I mean,
It's getting
I'm
moving.
I'm cautiously excited. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
um, you
Uh,
know,
so
go
just
ahead.
based on the ones you did already, the one in Costa Rica, was that organized by Doug Gomez? Because I know he's out there, right?
Doug actually was one of the DJs. It was organized by Sankofa Soul, that's a New York-based
Okay.
event.
Okay.
And then this was sort of their first vacation-driven party.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
Doug was one of the DJs, Jahad Muhammad, Mickey Affleck, um, Steve Maxwell. I can't remember everyone that
Yeah.
was
I
actually
remember
on the
seeing the
bill.
flyer, but I wasn't sure if it was Doug, because I was like, what a coincidence that it's happening there and Doug just happens to be there,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
so okay, so I want to talk just so everybody, I know lots about you because I'm a fan, but for any listeners who may not be as familiar, I know that your story is very rich and goes very deep over a vast time frame of especially of the house music history. But I'm wondering if you can kind of sum up maybe some of the highlights, experiences in your life that turned you into the artist today, starting from the first time you remember like really falling in love with music and your first DJ gig and that kind of thing.
Where do I want to start? First off, I want to say I'm a fan of yours. So
Nice.
I'm grateful
That's
that
awesome.
you asked me
Thank
to
you.
chat on this day. And what a big question, what a big and broad question with regards to I mean,
Yeah.
you make me sound old, and I guess I may very well
I
I
tried
may
so hard to word this so politically correct. I was like, how do I say this so I don't say, hey man, you're
you
old.
you old, and you've been doing this for a long time.
That's why I said a
Um,
vast journey, over
over
house
time.
music history.
Well, thank you for your political correctness. It does feel like I've been doing this for a long time, for sure. The inspiration, right? Are you talking about inspiration and big moments in my creative life
Spark.
as it relates? Well, I guess I always go back to this. Um, as I say, I am in the Caribbean right now. I am in Grenada, so I am first generation American, and so I've already had to sort of have a multi consciousness to
Hmm.
my perspective, my worldview.
Right.
Um, so being here, maybe not being Caribbean enough, and being in New York, maybe not being American enough. So sort of bridging
Right.
that gap.
Hmm.
And certainly growing up in a neighborhood that was already multicultural, New York is that.
Right.
But being able to hear playing salsa merengue, from my Panamanian, Puerto Rican, Dominican friends,
Yeah.
to some of my African friends playing, whether or not it was Afrobeat or high life music and all of that. Just being widely exposed to a lot of different cultures certainly colored my own musical sensibility. Um, which is what I always talk about, which is really the foundation of the global soul music stuff, because it is a fusion of those cultures
Hmm.
that I've experienced. That's really a reflection of my experience
Right.
of being able to be in different spaces and appreciating those different spaces.
Yeah.
Um, so taking all of that in.
Hmm.
So like my interest in music, my party days predate house as it's called.
Right.
It was dance music, and then certainly growing up, you go to a party and you hear from dance hall to hip hop to dance music,
Right.
all in one party.
Yeah.
So just having that sort of wide palette
Hmm.
musically, culturally, is what's sort of been in me from the start.
Yeah.
Um, so so I go here now to DJing. I
Hmm.
always mention brother Timothy Snipes, went to high school, DJ, when DJing was just the thing. We would go to his crib just to watch him cut and scratch. And I
Mm.
always had a big love of the art of DJ.
Yeah.
I learned how to DJ with my cousin on some Technique B1s, belt drive. Go practice, kids.
Nice.
That's not easy.
Yeah.
Uh,
No doubt. No doubt. Yeah.
and then I went to college and I did college radio, and so that was really the big start for me in terms of my DJ career and my love of house as house was becoming a thing. At the time you could be a house head, you could be a hip hop head, you could be whatever, and really the spirit of house, the camaraderie of house, the energy of house, the parties and the music was on the radio. You had Timmy Reginford and Tony Humphreys.
Yeah.
You had Larry Levan at the garage. You
Yeah.
had Zanzibar. You had all this stuff going on at the time. And
Hmm.
so it was a reflection of what young people, especially in New York, was into at the time.
Yeah.
So, those inspirations going to see, those legendary, iconic DJs in their resident homes,
Right.
had certainly colored, influence, inspired me to even want to do it.
Gotcha.
Listening to Tim and Tony on the radio. I mean, this was cool stuff.
Yeah.
This is
Cutting
when the
edge.
radio was, when the radio was the radio.
Is
Frankie
this
Cross
pre-shelter?
pre-shelter. So I
Okay.
was actually at shelter, and I think it opened on the Friday. I was there the Saturday that it opened. So I was there at the
Oh,
beginning.
crazy.
Um, and so, of course, clubbing is a part of partying is a part of how you socialize. When you're, college age, young, and all of that kind of stuff. And house music was sort of the sound that we partied to.
Yeah. Mhm.
I did not aspire to be a DJ producer at that time. I mean,
Right.
I loved it.
Hmm.
I practiced DJing sometimes more than I studied for class.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved it like that. And so I became the college DJ. I went to Wesleyan University, and we just had a beautiful uh, group of kids that enjoyed being together, partying together, going to New York, going to Boston, doing the
Mm.
whole college thing.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, you just think, okay, you start adulting, but you party a little bit, you do this, and but I always, since I was 7 years old, wanted to be an artist. Really, I wanted to be an actor, and I
Mm.
did pursue that for a time.
Okay.
Um, and and then DJ, right? So I had all these different interests
Yeah.
going on,
Arts
and
related.
all arts related, and I
Yeah.
had an opportunity to throw a party at a place called Frank's Lounge. Everybody in Brooklyn knows Frank's Lounge.
Okay.
A little small hole in the wall dive. It's actually now closed because
Okay.
Frank passed away, and his sons,
Mm.
I think they're in the process of selling it prior to
Oh, okay.
COVID. Um, and they gave me an opportunity to throw a party, and I
Okay.
wanted to throw a party that represented all of my interests, right? So that brings us to the tea party.
Okay.
So I did poetry, I acted, I played music, and I wanted to
Cool.
have an event that reflected all of that.
Okay.
While I brought cool people into the mix, it was a Sunday night thing. Uh, we partied.
What
My
year was
mom cooked.
this?
This was '94.
Okay,
This is
94. Sorry to cut you
94.
off. Yeah.
No.
And
So that became the foundation of where I am now. So
yeah,
if I'm going to say any big thing that made me who I am,
yeah.
um, I would to answer your question, I would go to the Tea Party, which
Which
started in '94.
okay, so 94, sorry to cut you off, man.
No,
94,
man, go ahead.
because this is interesting, is that my maybe I would say top three MCs is Most Def. So you did mention that Most Def would attend your parties. I would imagine this is while he was still just igniting a spark in Brooklyn and just hustling, trying to get his talent going before he was on Ruckus Records. What were some of the other artists that appeared at your parties?
I will tell you, I mean, I love Most.
Hmm.
Most would come to the Tea Party and he would break dance.
Oh,
He
really?
wouldn't even rhyme.
What?
I have a
Wow.
picture of him just
That's
break
awesome.
dancing.
Okay.
The very first time I met him, folk like Talib would come through, Jessica Care Moore would come through,
Wow.
Saul Williams would come through. Then
Wow.
we had
Cool.
folk like the Last Poets. I mean, we were
Mm.
part of the Brooklyn arts renaissance of the time, the spoken word movement of the time. We were a big part of that.
Cool.
So, um, I mean, you do a thing and you step into your purpose.
Yes.
You do, you have an idea and, you just, and it's fun, right? Positive reinforcement. I'm an artist. I'm a creative. So
Yeah.
I wanted to throw a cool party, and you hope that people come and people
Yeah.
came,
And you
right?
immerse yourself in other creative minds, and it sparks
All
more
of that.
inspiration, and
Sure,
then you
sure.
can
A
have
new
the
opportunity.
right and similar conversation, which is also important because when you get out into the world, sometimes it feels like it's a different set of rules and a different mind frame. So yeah, so immersing yourself in the artist's atmosphere, environment,
Sure.
and
I
stuff
mean,
like
because
that.
coming out of college, there's no roadmap to being an artist, right? There's no
Hmm.
roadmap. If you want to be a doctor, you know the steps. If you want to be an MBA, you know the steps. If you want
Right.
to be a lawyer, you know the steps. But to be an artist, as a professional artist, as a
Yeah.
commercial, commodifiable artist, there's certain
Hmm.
things, there isn't a roadmap, and you have to
No.
figure out how to, your particular
Navigate.
slant on it, right?
Totally. Yeah.
As I say to all artists, you're a small business owner,
Hmm.
and the business is you, right? The
Right.
business is your art. And
Totally.
so, as any entrepreneur, you have to figure out your market, you have to figure out your branding, you have to figure it all out.
Mm.
And it changes because the taste of the people change,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
So, so with the Tea Party, like Erica Badu, again, because it was this petri dish of artists literally living in community and working and playing in community with one another, that really bolstered my vision,
Mm.
my hope, my ability to dream. Right? Very often this is just being able to lean into your imagination, and
Right.
it's hard to dream under duress. Right? Whether or not that's the duress and stress of family, the duress and stress of trying to make money,
Yeah.
all of those things, right?
Yeah.
People often think that this is like a magic trick. You pull a rabbit out the hat, and things just happen.
Yeah.
But as a well-known, internationally known artist, I went to check her out, Barbara Bullock in Philadelphia, and she's a visual artist,
Hmm.
and she was giving a talk, and one of the people there asked, it must be so much fun, doing your art. And her response was, no, it's not fun. It's hard. It's not fun. It's hard work. It's
Yeah.
painful. It's angst. There's all this stuff trying to get the work done. It's not
Yeah.
fun. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. It's not just to
we're
feel
not
the
playing.
flowers.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
not. We're not playing around when we create.
Mm.
It's something that you have to do. It keeps you up late at night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It takes
you
out,
do this.
pieces of your life that you could be doing other things with and getting other things done. You
Sure.
always have to compromise. I mean, there's a compromise in there. I guess I'll just throw in there too that I would say that's probably why one of the biggest lessons for me is that when I allocate a certain amount of time to the creating art during, you know, the day or the week, I'm very strict about, okay, that's it. That's the time frame. I'm done and I have to move on. As an artist, it's very easy to say like, oh, just, you know, 5 more minutes, oh, 10 more minutes turns into like 6 more hours. But
Sure.
one thing I've definitely learned now is that you just have to turn the switch off if you want to make sure you create some kind of good balance in your life, and nurture everything that needs to happen aside from just making art. Sorry about that. Anyways.
No. It's really, really difficult. I mean, people talk about balance, and I think I use the word harmony.
Yeah.
I'm never going to be in balance. It's never going to be 50-50. It's never going to be evenly divided.
Yeah.
But I want to be in harmony with other aspects of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So if, you know, I'm doing 75% of this thing, and you know, and then you allocate whatever other, you know, percentage to
Yeah.
the other things.
Yeah.
And really being able to, I mean, it's difficult when you read the biographies of some of the people that we look up to as
Mm-hmm.
artists. Their personal lives are fraught with
Heavy.
all kinds of things, because
Van
it's
Gogh,
really, really,
Basquiat, like, I mean, those stories are heavy, man. Yeah.
yeah, it's difficult. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, you see people with multiple partners and things. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
this journey to be successful is just very, very challenging.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of sacrifice.
That's right.
And so, you know, when I didn't feel it, like, again, in purpose, being young, with the Tea Party and in community,
Mm-hmm.
that really gave me so much energy. It didn't feel like work. The ideas and the imagination was on fire. And then, you know, I had an opportunity. I mean, as we talk about my personal experiences, to sort of pursue the acting, and my mom passed away, and that was a profound, had a profound impact. Like, life hits you, right?
Yeah.
You might want to think, okay, I'm gonna produce an album, but then life hits you,
Yeah.
right? So, and then you have to tend to it. So
Yeah.
life did sort of hit me, and as I was trying to figure out my next moves and steps, you know, I had an opportunity to sit with Kevin Hedge and Josh Milan, uh, and just be in studio with them and just watch them work.
Cool.
And
That's fun.
that was so inspirational.
Yeah.
So that, you know, so that was the inspiration.
Yeah.
If college and the radio and the Tea Party was sort of a jumping off point for my um, artistry,
Mm-hmm.
then being in studio with them was sort of a jumping off point for my producer. You know, me being a producer.
Yeah.
You know, nowadays folk might produce, you know, for different reasons, and I don't judge anyone for their reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, the technology makes it more accessible for folk to do it, and some folk do it so they can get gigs. Some folks do it for whatever,
Right.
right? For me, you know, it was just another sort of mode of expression for me
Yeah.
that I wanted
Yeah.
to. It was like, it was really hard. It was a new language to learn.
Yeah.
You know, you had to take your little money to go to the studio. You
It was
know,
way more
it
expensive
wasn't
back in the day.
it wasn't yeah, it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
You had to really want to do it. And
Yeah.
so but when I got the bug, I really wanted to do it. And
Oh yeah.
then the technology sort of worked in my favor. You know, I mean, I think the first records I did, I had to transfer them from digital to D88s,
Mm-hmm.
and then to do the mix down on a real board.
Right.
Um,
Right.
you know, those original records. So anyway, I don't want to just ramble on.
No.
I
It's
want
interesting,
to
but
answer
yeah.
the question.
Yeah. Well, then we're going through the story here, but that's good, man. It's like, you know, you know, because that already kind of sums together like event. You pretty much went to the school of life, you know, event coordinating, um, uh, connecting, you know, with other artists and people, and then you have the music production all along the ways while you're DJing. So that's pretty much the full music industry life experience right there. And just moving into that conversation, which I'm sure you're going to bring up anyways, speaking about Libation, which is something that you are known for. And when I knew about you, Libation was very much something that was attached to your name. It's not just Ian Friday, it's Ian Friday and Libation. We brought years and years ago when we used to do some events here, me and my boy Luis, we brought Bodhisattva to our night, and we were calling it Play at the time, and it was inspired by our time in New York when we went to the Sullivan Room to check out Funk Box. And everyone was like, because we were at the Funk Box and people were like painting neon, doing neon paintings in the background. And then if you go to the side of the room, there was like people playing djembes, and there was a dude on like 5 bells with a stick just rocking the bells the whole time, literally. And the dancing was all like, you know, everybody was housing, and then they had the dude on the mic who was yelling stuff, and the whole dance room was yelling and responding exactly the same thing, where it really for me signified like the cultivation of that night in those people, because they knew what they were supposed to say when he said what he said on the mic, which was incredible. So you're like, holy shit, this definitely runs deep. When we were there, and we were like, because we had a gig at that time at I think it was Bar 13 or something like that. So we were there and we were like, this is amazing. We brought those ideas, but everyone there was like, if you think this is incredible, you need to go to Libation. And that's the first time I heard about that. Unfortunately, we weren't staying long enough. We almost did. We almost considered staying because we wanted to check out Libation, but it was tough, man. Again, you know, having a job and a life back at home and whatever. So, but the deal was we had heard about it. And then when we brought Bodhisattva to play at our night, we asked him what his one of his favorite nights was. And he said Libation. And he's like, there's nothing like it. He's like, the way people are dancing, the environment, he's like, you'll never experience anything else like it. And I remember Luis and I looking at each other and going like, damn, we should have stayed longer in New York. But so that being said about Libation, so it's something you're well known for. It's a series of DJ mixes. It's a branding of your night parties, a vision of what a dance and music night would be. How did it originate? And did you have like an original vision for it, or did it kind of just cultivate naturally?
Wow. Funny that you mentioned Funkbox, because today I posted a picture of my Instagram of Tony Touch, Voodoo Ray, and I.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just as
back
a
in the days.
throwback. So yeah, shout out to Tony, Voodoo Ray forever, and Funkbox for sure. That's our family. So yeah, Libation, again, shout out to my brother Bandcamp Black. Shout out to Afro Mosaic. So we, you know, Manchild, it's so funny. This is history and life is really funny, you know, like the connections, right? So I put out a record on West End Records, Island Life EP, Carib's Leap, you know, that did really well for me. And then Man Child was the next record in that series that they were doing, which was called West End Blue.
Okay.
And Kevin thought that I should do a remix or a studio mix of the project. So
Hmm.
Man Child and I had been in conversation, but he had seen me DJ prior to that. And he wanted to, he's like, yo, man, maybe we could do a party together. And
Nice.
I was still at that point thinking about reviving the Tea Party. So I really put him off about a year or so.
Hmm.
And then I was like, okay, I think my spirit is ready to do an event. And as we talked about the type of elements that we wanted, the feeling of the event, I mean, A was a reflection of the times that we were in, and then the people that we knew and how we partied, right? So very much about the dance floor and the dancers. We also did live art at the party. Always was interested in bringing in DJs and performers. So it was an art centric party. We started small and grew naturally. I mean, obviously, Bodie came to play. Ocean came to play. Torch the Soul. All the folk of the time, Raul Midon,
Oh,
Josh,
Raul too, eh? Wow.
Pevin
Cool.
Everett. So we started off in a small space, and when we had 300 kids in a space that really held 75, we
Right.
knew it was time to move. We
Yeah.
had Pevin in a small space, and then we moved to the Sullivan Room, and then the rest was history. I always wanted to have a residency,
Right.
a club residency, and again, as I say, the global soul sensibility had always been in me. So I was sort of known for playing not just four on the floor, but playing, Latin influence, Brazilian influence, African influence, dance music, some of it
Hmm.
house and some of it in its original form.
Okay.
So, being able to attract an audience who also had the musical sensibility to sort of be open to
Yeah.
hearing it raw and uncut, as well in its house forms. That's part of like the magic ingredients in the soup. Afro Mosaic Soul, they were hosting the event. They're a dance lifestyle collective that I've known them since they were teenagers, for some of them. And that was an invitation for dance crews and dancers to come. Man, child, black artist, singer, songwriter, performer.
Yeah.
We did the event together and all of that kind of stuff. And really, just like the Tea Party, I guess I've been a part of things that when you plant it right, it grows full. And so Libation was one of those things that we just planted right. I can't tell you, I mean, I could think of things that signal us our growth,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's just timing.
Hmm.
Um, and, again, I was before this current wave of Afro hit.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was playing that stuff. So we've had
Yeah.
Black Coffee come in. We've
Hmm.
had the Jeff come in. We've had folk come before they blew up, just
Yeah.
because when you live it,
Yeah.
you know,
Hmm.
right? And so we weren't really trying to be fake. We were just doing what we love to do, how we
Yeah.
love to do it,
Hmm.
and then by a community that was really open to it, and it was really um like the Tea Party for me, stepping into purpose.
Hmm.
So it was what I ate, thought, drank, slept, libation type stuff, how to
Right.
make it better, obviously going to other cities, as my touring life started to grow, um doing my winter music conference and doing events down there.
Hmm.
That's the fun part. We
Totally.
I don't want to say that the enjoyment of being together, of working together, that energy
Yeah.
is attractive. I mean, yes, work is required. We have to think about our, artists and money and all of the things that one has to think about when you're throwing an event.
Yeah.
People think, oh yeah, you had this and I had this amazing time, but they don't know the backstory with regards to the challenges of, well, maybe, we have to scrounge to get the money.
Yeah.
Perhaps, we
Yeah.
had to, there was some issue with this, with the equipment at the club.
And
all
working
these
with
things.
multiple personalities and trying to keep
Sure.
that, balanced and working weekly as well. I mean,
Sure.
it's complicated for sure.
It's work.
And
We
I'm
love it.
gathering too, like what you're saying here is that like, so far, like what it seems to sound like to me is that like a big key to your success has constantly been like building and cultivating a community, which sometimes gets neglected because of social media. We just like blast off some posts or pay for some ads and try and get people out to an event. But there's a lot to be said about the importance of like getting out there, connecting with people and getting them out to the events and creating a wholesome roots community, right? To everything that you've been doing.
Sure. I mean, one of my mottos from back in the day is that one person can knock on the door of opportunity, but a whole crew can knock it down. So when I look at like how folk seem to move in hip hop, seem to move in business, it is generally through a lot of support, through community.
Right.
I think very often now artists think that they have to, be protective of their brand and their thing, but
Right.
to me, what's really exciting is collaboration. Maybe because I come out of the theater, theater.
Right.
So theater is very collaborative. We're going to have a director. You're going to have co-stars. You're going to have someone that builds a set. You're going to have someone that has to be an usher, take the ticket. So really it is, how do you get the vision realized?
Yeah.
Very often doesn't come from just one person doing everything.
Right.
And
right.
so, we live in a time where the technology allows someone to sort of create from the ground up, to market it, to do everything. After a while, it isn't sustainable. After a while, that's not, to me, what it's about. Now,
Right.
I have fallen into that trap sometimes because you can learn.
Yeah.
YouTube, this, that, you can learn and try to figure it out.
Yeah.
But to me, that has impact, because when you think about some of those iconic classic forever records and you look at the liner notes and you see, okay, there was an expert in each part of the production chain.
Yeah.
Now it's just you.
Yeah.
There's me, right?
Yeah.
And so that does something in terms of the quality of the overall product. I believe.
Yeah.
Even if it's one or two other people having a different perspective. So yes, for me, my success, my vision, my perspective, my route is like, it's always been about community building, always.
Gotcha. So talking about community again and building other things with it, global soul music. I think we got a pretty good idea of why that would come to be. It makes a lot of sense based on your history and everything you talked about in your events. It probably felt like a natural evolution to the game you were playing and creating and the career you were building. Did global soul music just make sense to do it? Or did it fill some other kind of intention for you as well? Like, for example, my label really came out of receiving a million no emails and going, all right, I'm just going to put this out myself. Right. But and then it turns into something else. But just wondering if there was any other reason that you put global soul music together.
Well, first of all, it was called Tea Party Music because it related to the Tea Party, right?
Yeah.
We changed the name because of the political Tea Party movement that was happening, and we didn't want to be associated. So we were calling it Tea Party, the home of global soul, or whatever the tagline was at the time.
Yeah.
And so Global Soul was the sound,
Gotcha.
and Tea Party was the label. But we wanted to disassociate when people started asking or whatever. If you Google, we're like, no, we're not politically aligned to that at all.
Yeah.
So we made a branding change to Global Soul Music. Global
Okay.
Soul Music came up as a way. I was trying to think of ways that we could sort of describe the music that was happening, coming out
Yeah.
of a variety of camps, whether that it was Oshun or Carlos Mena, and you know, like, because a lot of times when people thought about house music, and I no disrespect to anybody, you know, Chicago, whatever,
Yeah.
but when people I spoke to that were not living in the present house music culture, they thought about it as follow me. They thought about it as an old genre. They didn't think about
Yeah.
what was happening as we were living in present day.
Okay.
And so I saw how in Europe they went from dubstep to two-step to garage, you know, like they would
Yeah.
change the same. To me, music, there might be some subtle changes, but still would be under the umbrella of house.
Yeah.
But they would rename it, rebrand it, and remarket it, and young people will come to it. See,
Yeah.
part of the thing about building community for me, you know, is introducing this thing that I love to young people.
Right.
New blood, new energy to be infused into a thing that continues it on whenever we stop.
Right.
That it goes on
Yeah.
and it reflects what's happening in the now for those people, but it's part of a continuum. So Global Soul, as the world was getting smaller, as you know, there was all the interest of cultures bubbling up. You know what was happening in Africa, South Africa to begin with, was being infused with what we were doing. Obviously, you know, the Latin influences was coming through heavy. The Brazilian influences was coming through heavy.
Yeah.
The Caribbean influences was coming through heavy. How do we represent, repackage, remarket, and reignite some excitement for the music to new people?
Right.
Because we already knew what it was, right? So, but when those people on the outside of living this culture, when they hear house music, they think the 80s, they think big room music, they think something else, they think now EDM. So how do we package collectively the story, the sound, the culture of the vibe that we were on? So that's what Global Soul Music, so some cats use it, but that's what Global Soul Music really was about for me.
Okay.
And then when I was like, you know, let me just change the name of the label, that it will be the actual home of this particular sound.
Right.
And so, but I always, to answer your question, I always wanted to, because at the time I always wanted to do a label, because I like to build things.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, and when you know, when I had mentors, big brothers in the game like Antonio Ocasio and Frankie Feliciano, Kevin Hedge, and all these other cats, they were doing their labels.
Yeah.
Right back, they were dropping vinyl. So you know, you have Reconstruction and Tribal Winds, and yes, the first 4 records I put out were on vinyl.
Yeah.
You know, which is a whole other effort. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, I know. I go through spurts with it. When I'm ready, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to do this. And then I do one release, and then I'm like, okay, it's time for a long break.
Yeah,
time for a long breaky poo. And then I just breathe a bit. Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, and I want to do it. I want to do it now. I think it's, you know, I have all kinds of interesting debates with folk whether or not one should do vinyl. I mean, there is and has been a whole subculture of vinyl. It is a different effort. And going to the other point of
it is,
you know, trying to do it all yourself.
Yeah.
and while having some kind of balance of life and harmony of life.
Mm.
I'm like, dude, I'll get to it. I'll get to it, but I can't do it right
Yeah.
now. I can't do it.
Are there any releases for global soul house music that we can be anticipating?
Um, yeah, for sure, for sure. It is. We put out a couple records last year. The pandemic clearly slowed things down. I am here. Like I said, I'm not at the home base. There are a couple things that need to be worked on in terms of mix downs and so on and so forth. But definitely records are coming. I'm excited about projects with. I mean, I have projects with Manchild,
Nice.
Chris Rob. I'm a what? I mean, I hate to call names. Tons of things that are on the pike. Um, my heart project, my album project. I want to get back to. Um, yeah,
So
I
lots of
mean,
stuff, lots of
lots of
stuff.
things, lots of
Okay.
things.
Let's talk real quick about producing in the studio. Something I like to cover on the show is inspiration, staying creative. So just want to ask you real quick, do you have any kind of tricks that you use in the studio, or the way that you research things to keep you inspired, after so many years of being in the studio, to continue to be excited about creating and writing music? How do you stay enthusiastic about it?
How do I stay enthusiastic about, anything? Really finding inspiration in various sources.
Mhm.
Again, because it's collaborative for me. So I work with musicians.
Okay.
And I want to say that I'm deliberate. Other people might say that I'm slow. Um, with regards to releases and so on and so forth.
Right.
I'm not on anyone's schedule.
Yeah.
I don't have a release schedule where I have to put out 12 records or 24 records in a year and all of that kind of stuff. At this point in my life, in my
Yeah.
career, that is a grind, and it doesn't really fit, as we talked about earlier, the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Um, the rest of my life, just I do have other things in my life that I have to do, and so music is just a part of it. Um, and I've always been in the mindset that quality trumps quantity.
Mhm.
And so so to the whole thing around even vinyl, right? So, um, yeah, some folk will say that vinyl sounds different than digital and it's warmer and this and that and that and this. Um, there's science and math that supports or refutes the idea. I'm not a scientist, and I'm not, it's all about what you hear and how you experience the music. But what I do know is that because the music is in a physical form, it has a different kind of value, right? That
Mhm.
you can touch and feel, things that I could always remember about a record that has an actual cover and artwork and all of that, that it's a fuller experience. So
Mhm.
even in terms of DJing and trying to remember records
Yeah.
that are just in digital form, it is a challenge. It is a
Yeah.
challenge because you could have thousands and thousands of files.
Mhm.
You could have them organized, but how it sits in you, right? Like how do you remember things? Well, yeah, when I was traveling with vinyl, you're like, oh yeah, it's that blue label, it's that red label, it's that thing that has this artwork. Like there are
Yeah.
all these different things that connect your senses to the
Yeah.
music,
Yeah.
right? So yes,
Mhm.
in terms of vinyl, that would be my selling point around it.
Right.
Impact and shelf life,
Right.
right?
Right.
Um, Nowadays you put out a record and the shelf life, my goodness,
A
it's
week.
if you get a week, then you're good.
Yeah,
And
it's a
that's
hit.
kind of crazy.
Hmm.
That's crazy to me, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because you
to me
think
too.
about Winter Music Conference, there was what's the song of the Winter Music Conference, or before that, what's the record of the summer? We don't
Hmm.
have those things.
Yeah.
We don't have records, and they're great records, right?
Hmm.
They might be
Hmm.
great records, but they just don't stick like they should.
Yeah.
And so for our music, so global soul music, that's why I'm taking my time to put out music that I believe in, music that is that I love, and music that's quality. So that's going
Yeah.
forward, and that's always been my philosophy with it.
Yeah.
Um,
And
um, Go ahead.
oh yeah, so yeah, that makes a lot of sense. For me too, like I would say the stuff that has had the most impact for me from global soul music, it's true, there's always just like moments in time that I attach certain songs to that have
Mhm.
had a massive impact on me. I actually was just going back and listening to your catalog because there's like gaps of some that I may have missed between other ones that had massive impact.
Mhm.
um it's hard to keep up um with the amount of music coming out all the time.
Sure.
And even I myself have a hard time getting to track source every couple of days or whatever, you know. um
I think I'm about to drop one of your joints this coming week on my show. Actually, I don't want to lie to you. Let me look at it real quick.
on one of the other mixes you had two, I only promoted like I thought you only had one on there, and then I went back and listened to it again. I'm like, oh, there's another song on there
Yeah,
too. Love it.
yeah, yeah. Parallel universe. I think I'm gonna get into
Oh,
now.
nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was
Um,
actually one of the ones I couldn't decide whether to put on vinyl or not. Finally, I just decided, oh, let's just digital
right.
that one. Cool. Based on your experience, can you tell or can you see anything about our music that like a direction it's headed in? Or have you noticed anything about, oh, maybe it's starting to evolve into this realm or whatever? Or maybe that's something you don't even pay attention to at all.
Sure. I definitely pay attention to it. I live this thing. I breathe this thing. So
Mhm.
when you're on the ground with it, you are able to sort of you have a expansive view.
Yeah.
And so certainly with and then I trust my taste in
Hmm.
music.
Yeah.
And I trust my musical curiosity.
Yeah.
So I remember when I went to go play in Korea, a bunch of 25-year-old kids they were playing records and they were playing disco, right? It was a
Oh,
disco.
okay.
And I was like, and they were playing,
Going
like
back.
they were playing disco. I mean,
Uh-huh.
and not like new disco.
Right.
Oh, and on vinyl. So I know they had to
All
go
right.
look for those records.
Yeah.
And so so then there was like a little
Going back.
disco thing, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
look check out certain Dave Lee, stuff that he was putting out. And so the other thing about this dance music, this house music, this global soul, this Afro, this whatever, is that it really lives and breathes at the party. And
Mm.
we
Mm.
haven't been able to really party. So
Okay.
yes, it's been fantastic to do live streaming and all of that, and everyone's doing it. The
Yeah.
music is coming out so fast and so furious, and then so you can play 30 different records each week,
Yeah.
right? But without the immediate reaction and response from the people, the
Yeah.
crowd,
Yeah.
then you move on, right?
Yeah. That's
So
right.
there is something about that exchange of
Hmm.
energy that lets you know, okay, I'm gonna rock this record again. Like this is a record I'm gonna play for a couple weeks or whatever.
Right.
It's hard to get that kind of sense now.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so I think that we're resetting. I think, industries and businesses and artists are trying, they are creating from now. And
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
am curious to hear, like, yeah, what you said with regards to Afro and its sort of evolution into like a techier thing, and you know, the main artists going to Europe, and obviously Europe having its own impact
Yeah.
on those artists and on that scene.
Yeah.
So yes, that's going to have an impact. Artists, DJ producers that live by it, that are young, they're going to go chase that money anyway, right? So that's
Hmm.
its own positive reinforcement.
Right.
If you're in the game long enough and you really are holding on to your particular aesthetic, your perspective, then that's how certain artists, unless there's some major thing that happens in their lives, you like them for their vibe, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want them to go all the way over to the right or over to the left. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
they'll bring you along, but just like major pop artists, they have their hit record, they go do a concert, they might have 4 albums that come out afterwards, but they still gotta perform that hit record because
Hmm.
that's what the
Hmm.
people want.
That's right.
And
That's right.
so I think that just carries down through all the genres. And I think as you're developing as an artist, as a producer, as a DJ, and you're figuring out your aesthetic, that's when you're most sort of influenced by all these different type of sources. But once you really settle in, I mean, if I put out a techno record, y'all would be like, "What the, what?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what?"
Yeah. Yeah. It's a little out there. I mean, the thing though is, okay, so I did hear you say in this other interview, you were like, you like to throw in other songs. Like you're not just about DJing for yourself. You're for DJing for the people. Um, where do you draw that line? Where do you draw the line of this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm about? And also, okay, I'll give you a bit of this as well. Like that's obviously like the golden question for any DJ. But you have a brand, you have nights, you have a label, and
Sure.
this already kind of encompasses a much more particular sound. So when do you feel is the right time to drift away from it and to stick to it?
Well, so being a producer, me as producer, different than me as DJ.
Mm,
So me as DJ um, is going to be in the moment. It's
okay.
again because of my own musical interest and curiosity, what I can hear and what I can anticipate an audience, a crowd liking. Um, and then you take chances, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to create moments.
Right. I like
If
that.
everybody's playing the same 30 records, it's hard to sort of, we all now after a while people are proficient at blending and blah blah blah, but being able to create a moment, part of it is throwing a record that maybe, from, oh yeah, I remember that record. Oh, I don't know that record. Oh, what? Like it's
Right.
and being daring.
Yeah.
The uh
Risk, taking risk.
sure. I
Yeah.
mean, people aren't really and this is because the way parties are set up now, they're shorter. If you're a guest DJ, you play 2 hours, where before you have longer sets and that kind of stuff. So
Mhm.
there's more time to sort of have different colors. So the mindset is like hitting, like you go to a party now, the opening DJ is playing like peak time records at 9:30 when the club is opening up, right? Like the sound system is screaming at its. But for me, being able to sort of create an experience that has a beginning, middle, and end, um, and not being afraid to clear the floor. When I hear,
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
and because I appreciate the history, when Cats told me, the producer of Heartbeat, I think Kenton Nix, um, so that classic record that's now like an R&B hip hop classic, Heartbeat, when it first came out, the BPM was slow. Records were super fast, and Larry Levan played the record, cleared the floor. Right? Of course, he had a 12-hour set. People were like unfolded, booty, like all of that. He played the record like 6 times. By the end of the night, people were cheering,
Okay.
and it became a hit in the club, and then a hit on the radio, and then a hit record.
Crazy.
So
Ian, we're gonna have to have a part 2 for sure, because
okay,
like
I'm here with you, bro.
we can talk for hours, man. I know this. And we are meeting for the first time, so there's, it's like we're kind of like fitting in first time conversation and an interview, and it's fantastic.
Sure.
But this also tells me that we've got more episodes to go for sure. It's a ton of great information here that I would love for people to absorb, and I want to talk about other things in the future when you have more time. Well, I think maybe we'll just cap it off with, is there anything at this moment in time you'd like to share with people about things you have coming up, or yeah, I mean, anything you'd like them to know, to anticipate, or to keep their eyes open for, ears to the ground?
So yeah, this is our first meeting, and clearly, artist to artist, producer to producer, DJ to DJ. It's been fantastic, wonderful. This is a great project that you have going on. So again, I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for inviting me. I do have many things to say around being an artist, and so I just also want to mention that. So this is a virtual background, but this is the Color Girls Museum. I'm the associate director and the performance curator of a museum dedicated to, well, we say our mission is a public ritual for the protection, praise, and grace of Black women and girls, the Color Girl. And behind me is some portraits for a project that we're doing called First Time Ever I Saw Your Face, based on Roberta Flack's song. So music is in here, and we're doing portraits of girls, and you get to look at them without harming them. And so the museum is reopened after all this time in Philadelphia. We are celebrating the bicentennial of Harriet Tubman. The exhibition is called the One Room Schoolhouse. So if you're in the Philadelphia area, come through. I personally am going to be going to Venice, because I have, after all this time, I am going to be participating in the Biennale there. So I'm going to be going with a group of artists from Grenada, representing Grenada, and I'll be performing. In a performance art theatrical kind of way.
Cool.
So as we,
and that's when.
That is next month in April, actually.
Okay, in April.
It opens on the 22nd of April.
Okay.
So the music and the stuff that, we're here, that, most of the folk that will be here, what they know about with regards to music and DJing and all of that kind of stuff. I'm playing in Miami, I think in May, another sort of Afro festival going on there. And
in Miami in May.
In May.
Okay.
Around my birthday, in fact. So
nice.
and then records, I promise y'all, records are coming out. I have tons of records in the pan. Records are coming out.
We want it.
We'll start dropping things probably in May through the end of the year. So just look out, Global Soul Music. I try to do my best with IG, Facebook, and all the socials to let folks know what's going on, what's going down.
Yeah.
Check this brother out. He drops dope jams that I play.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
Love it.
And so, onward and upward in all your endeavors. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure, man. I am truly honored to have you on the show, and thank you for sharing a vast amount of knowledge that is extremely beneficial, especially for me right now. That was amazing to hear all of that. Thanks a lot, and thank you for tuning in to DCMTV with my man Ian Friday, and all the social media should be there for you to check it out. Check it out. Support Ian, amazing artist, great human being. And we'll see you next time. Peace. Hey guys, thanks again for tuning in. If you like what you saw, please subscribe and like the videos. If you want to show some more support, you can leave comments in the sections under the video about maybe other topics that I can be talking about with the artists in the interviews. Please follow me on Instagram, Spotify, Facebook, YouTube. I have a playlist on Spotify that has the artists that we'll be interviewing on this channel as well. If you're interested in any of my music, it's all available at www.deepculturemusic.com. That's my music label, and I have a lot of great music that I've made myself and my friends. And please share the video with your social medias and with your friends. Maybe suggest to get them to like it as well, so we can continue to have this channel grow and do more great interviews. Okay, thanks a lot, and I look forward to seeing you soon.